Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair. I appreciate you being here today, and I'm going to get right to the point. We're going to talk a couple of lines of questions, cost-benefit analysis, and then about raising interest rates and what kind of impact that'll have on national debt versus personal debt. And the committee room being remodeled, I also have been watching the TVs, which are very informative, and the charts that I think are being shown by my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, if we would just change the top to progress that's been made since Republicans took control of the House in 2011, then I think the charts are great. So appreciate my buddies on the other side of the aisle get a big kick out of that. Back to cost-benefit analysis. The small, medium-sized banks, lending institutions all over the country, the impacts of Dodd-Frank being burdensome, overburdensome. Just 2 or 3 questions, and you can answer, we'll move on. Does the Fed's independence in setting monetary policy mean that financial regulations are above the law, 1, and has anyone at the Federal Reserve done an analysis of the cumulative impact of Dodd-Frank regulations on broader economic variables such as credit availability, economic growth, capital formation, and perhaps most importantly, job creation? Now, the CFTC, SEC, these other agencies do this. Why aren't you doing this, and can you shed some light on why you're not, and would you be open to doing it?
Well, we do a great deal of analysis to try to understand the costs of regulations that we put in place and their benefits. For example, with respect to the Basel III capital requirements, we participated along with other countries in a very detailed cost-benefit study of the likely impact of raising capital standards. We came to the conclusion that even though there might be a very modest burden on raising spreads and the cost of capital to the economy, that the costs of financial crises had been so dramatic and so large that the impact that we would have of reducing the odds of a financial crisis, it passed a cost-benefit test easily. We regularly make sure that we comply with the administrative.
So are you, not to interrupt, but my time is slipping, but would you be open to doing a specific cost-benefit analysis for every big decision? Because what you're saying there, I get what you're saying. I know it's very complicated, but you're saying, well, in order to make sure that we don't hurt this one over here, we're doing this one here. But, you know, we really are not going to give you the information that it's not cut and dry, which we need more than we're getting. Would you be open to doing a cost-benefit analysis, yes or no?
Well, we do follow the analysis that's required by current law. And in some cases, I think it would be difficult to do that. After all, Congress is, for example, in Dodd-Frank, already made a judgment that they want to see us put certain requirements into place based on Congress's judgment that it would make the financial system safer and sounder. We put out proposed regulations for comment to try to accomplish an objective that Congress has already assigned to us because they've determined that it would be beneficial.
Okay, reclaiming. It's just, it seems like a common sense approach. I know it is very complicated, but that we would have, again, the SEC, CFTC, other agencies are doing, that we have a common sense approach, cost-benefit analysis. And I think you're saying that you're not in favor of doing it this time. Maybe Congress needs to, maybe we need to do something else. Let me move on, but you're not in favor of it. Raising interest rates. Nationally, the debt that we owe, we see the current national debt. Personally, the debt that many Americans owe in this country. When we start down this path of raising rates, I'm afraid, you know, there's a whole generation of people now that think the interest rate standard, 0% is the standard because they don't know what interest rates, back when I was a kid, when interest rates were 18, 20% under the Carter administration. But when you start up down this path of raising rates, my fear is we go into another recession, then you can't raise rates again because rates are already low because you haven't raised them much anyway. And then the only answer is more quantitative easing, more dumping money into the economy. And that gets very serious very quickly. What is do you fear that raising rates is going to do this? I know my time is...
We're not going to raise rates if we think it's going to tip the economy into a recession. We will raise rates because we believe the economy is strong enough that it is appropriate to have higher rates to meet the objectives we have been assigned by Congress. And
This is a concern for you as well.
so we wouldn't do something that would jeopardize a
yield back.
recession unless inflation